Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moment. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Renegade Immortal episode number 336 based on novel. So let's start. Wang Lin left with Zhu Ru. His complicated feelings toward Liu Mai and the memories of the past were buried deep within his mind. He never wanted to touch them. In the end, Mu Bingmai didn't see Wang Ping. Wang Lin didn't want to guess what she was thinking and left. It was like a barrier had split them into two worlds when the formation activated. It was as if they were so distant, not even dreams could reach across the gap. If the furthest distance in the world was not life and death but to be forgotten, then even that distance seemed a lot closer than the distance between Wang Lin and Mu Bingmai. It seemed the farthest distance one could reach was to be unable to forget. You want to forget but can't. You want to search for it but have no direction. The only thing left was time passing by, flowing down the darkness of eternity. As Mu Bingmai stared at figure that disappeared in the harsh light, tears flowed down once more. She wanted to see Wang Ping, she wanted to touch her child and hold him in her arms. However, she couldn't. Even more so, she was afraid. A flaw had appeared in her Dao heart due to Liu Mai. She should have cut this flaw out. Even though her Dao heart would be incomplete, the flaw would be gone. However, she didn't know what would happen once she saw Wang Ping. Her Dao heart could be complete, or it could collapse completely. If her life belonged to herself, she would have walked down the path without hesitation whether it was right or wrong. However, as the brilliant void saintess, most of her life didn't belong to herself. Just let all of this end like this. Mu Bingmai bit her lower lip and slowly turned around. Her figure looked even more lonely than Wang Lin. The sky was blue, and Mu Bingmai's heart also seemed to turn blue. It was a very powerful tone of blue. The void of space was so dark that not even the light from the stars in the distance could reach this far to cover the pain in Wang Lin's heart. He could only let this pain fill his entire body. As the pain continues, maybe it will stop feeling painful. Wang Lin sent Zhu Ru to the new Rain Celestial Realm. Zhu Ru's eyes were filled with reluctance as Wang Lin rubbed her head and revealed a kind smile. Back when he took this little girl and raised her, he gradually got the feeling of being a father. After seeing Zhu Ru, Wang Lin thought of Wang Ping and Li Muwen. Be good here and don't waste your cultivation. You have grown up. Wang Lin looked at this spirited girl, and the kindness in his eyes became even stronger. Uncle, it was as if Zhu Ru was made of water as tears flowed down from her cheeks non-stop. She grabbed tightly onto the edge of Wang Lin's clothes like she did when she was a kid. She feared that if she let go, Wang Lin would never come back. Uncle doesn't know if bringing you here is right or wrong, but Uncle can't rest at ease if you are with Mu Bingmai. Wang Lin gradually suppressed the pain in his heart and he gently looked at Zhu Ru. This child had accompanied him for many years. If Uncle never comes back, little Ru, you can go find your teacher. Wang Lin closed his eyes and turned around. He pulled his clothes from Zhu Ru's hands and disappeared. Uncle, Zhu Ru's tears fell on her clothes. Behind her, Hu Huan let out a sigh as she pulled Zhu Ru's hand and softly said, "Your uncle will return." In the eastern region, after the Azure Dragon Divine Emperor returned, the four divine sect went through a drastic change. The four sects were now one sect instead of four separate sects. There would no longer be four divine emperors, but just one named the Divine Sovereign. There were a lot of disagreements in the four divine sect toward this move by the Azure Dragon Divine sect. However, all voices of opposition disappeared before the Azure Dragon Divine Emperor's strength. The holy treasures of the Black Tortoise Divine sects and the White Tiger Divine sects were no longer held by the sects and went into the hands of the Azure Dragon Divine Emperor. The methods to using them were no longer a secret to the sects. Wang Lin's figure appeared within the eastern region soon after the integration was complete. The moment he appeared, he was found by the people of the Azure Dragon Divine sect. Wang Lin calmly looked at the team of Azure Dragon Divine sect guards, and those cultivators immediately lowered their heads. Wang Lin didn't speak and slowly moved past them. It wasn't until Wang Lin left that the patrolling cultivators looked at each other. One of them immediately took out a jade and reported this matter to the elders. One of the cultivators in this patrol team said in discontent, "He is no longer the Divine Emperor, so why are we being polite to him?" After returning to the eastern region, Wang Lin realized that the atmosphere was very strange. All the members of the Four Divine Sect who saw him had strange expressions, but no one stopped him. It didn't take long for a red star field to appear before him. That was where the Vermilion Bird Divine Sect was. However, just as he was about to enter, he stopped and turned around. He saw 7 rays of light close in and turn into 7 people. Among them were 2 Vermilion Bird, 1 White Tiger, and 4 Azure Dragon Divine Sect members. They were all elders and their cultivation levels weren't low. Wang Lin's eyes were calm. He was familiar with the 7 of them as they were all elders who were involved in rescuing the Azure Dragon Divine Emperor. When the 2 elders from the Vermilion Bird Divine Sect saw Wang Lin, they were ashamed and avoided Wang Lin's gaze. "Wang Lin, the Azure Dragon Divine Sovereign invites you." The person who spoke was a member of the Azure Dragon Divine Sect. He looked at Wang Lin with an apologetic look. He didn't know why the Divine Emperor had made all these changes, but he wasn't qualified to stop him. Wang Lin slowly asked, "Are the people I left at the Vermilion Bird Divine Sect safe?" After he heard the old man's words, he immediately speculated on the matter. This person hadn't called him Divine Emperor. It must have been because the Azure Dragon Divine Emperor had said something, and there was also the strange Divine Sovereign title. Combined with all the strange things he saw, Wang Lin became cautious. "They are all safe." The person who answered Wang Lin was an elder of the Vermilion Bird Divine Sect. Wang Lin looked at the elder and remembered that this was the person who asked him what he planned to do after becoming the Divine Emperor. He nodded but didn't speak, then he stepped into the burning star field. The Azure Dragon Divine Sect members frowned and stepped into the burning star field. The Azure Dragon Divine Sect elder said in a heavy tone as he chased after Wang Lin into the burning star field, "Wang Lin, the Azure Dragon Divine Sovereign wants you to see him." Wang Lin ignored the elder. When he entered the burning star field, his divine sense spread out with the assistance of the burning flames. He used spatial bending to quickly move to a different position, allowing him to scan the entire burning star field. However, he didn't find any trace of Big Head and company. Wang Lin's expression immediately became gloomy. He turned around and coldly looked at the 7 elders chasing him. "Where are they?" Wang Lin stared at the 7 of them and quickly calmed down. He knew that anger wouldn't solve the problem, he had to remain calm. "Wang Lin, the Divine Sovereign wants to see you. Do you want me to say it a 3rd time?" Wang Lin slowly said, "Without me, the Azure Dragon Divine Sovereign would still be sealed in the Rain Celestial Realm." You, the elder of the Azure Dragon Divine Sect, stared at Wang Lin, and his expression became even more gloomy. "If not for the old Vermilion Bird Divine Emperor, your Azure Dragon Divine Sect would have long vanished. If your Azure Dragon Divine Sovereign wants to see me, he can come here." Wang Lin wouldn't step out from this burning star field. The monstrous flames here could greatly increase his power. The elder of the Azure Dragon Divine Sect laughed in fury, but the people around him became silent. The Vermilion Bird Divine Emperor died for the 4 Divine Sect. This old man admired him very much for this. At this moment, an ancient void appeared. It seemed to contain the power of a spell. When it appeared, even the burning star field seemed to pause. The expressions of the 7 elders immediately became serious. They took a few steps back and clasped their hands in unison. "Greetings, Divine Sovereign." Pieces of green light appeared in the world and rapidly condensed. The surrounding flames seemed to be pushed apart by a pair of giant hands and an open area appeared. The green light condensed into the appearance of the Azure Dragon Divine Emperor in this opening. Compared to the sorry state he was in back in the Rain Celestial Realm, the Azure Dragon Divine Emperor, he was like a new person. His green robe flashed brightly and his hand was behind his back. A shocking pressure spread out and covered the area. "I presume you've returned to return the holy treasure." The Azure Dragon Divine Emperor reached out his hand and calmly looked at Wang Lin. There was not a hint of emotion in his eyes, they were completely cold. "Where are my friends?" Wang Lin retreated a few steps and looked at the Azure Dragon Divine Emperor. He had felt like his entire body was going to collapse under this pressure, but he forced himself to endure it. The Azure Dragon Divine Emperor let out a smile, only this smile was extremely cold. I didn't make it hard on them. All outsiders were sent to a planet at the edge of the Four Divine Sect. I can abandon my identity as the Vermilion Bird Divine Emperor, I can give you the holy treasure, I can leave and never come back, but I'll take one thing away. Wang Lin never intended to keep the holy treasure. He waved his right hand at the void and then a burning white stone appeared. There was also a drop of the holy blood inside. Wang Lin calmly said, I want to take away the remains of the old Divine Emperor. The Azure Dragon Divine Emperor silently pondered for a bit. The coldness in his eyes lessened a bit but soon returned to normal. I think he would prefer to be buried in the Four Divine Sect. The old Vermilion Bird Divine Emperor spent his life for the Four Divine Sect. Now that he is dead, he deserves freedom. I'll take him away. Wang Lin's eyes revealed a persistent gaze as he waved his right hand and the white stone flew toward the Azure Dragon Divine Emperor. The Azure Dragon Divine Sovereign carefully looked at the stone. He let out a sigh and no longer spoke. He then turned and left, and the 7 elders left with him. One of the Vermilion Bird Divine Sect elders turned toward Wang Lin. He opened his mouth as if he wanted to say something, but the Azure Dragon Divine Sovereign looked at him, causing the old man to sigh and not speak. Wang Lin left with the old Divine Emperor, whose body had turned to stone. He left the Four Divine Sect and saw Big Head and company waiting for him. The Four Divine Sect would no longer have any connection with him, but the look of the Vermilion Bird Divine Sect elder had made Wang Lin wonder. He faintly felt like there was something he didn't know. This was because the old Vermilion Bird Divine Emperor had also given him the Vermilion Bird Cloak and the token formed by the Vermilion Bird Spirit. The Azure Dragon Divine Sovereign didn't mention them at all. If you said he had forgotten, Wang Lin wouldn't believe it. Also, the secret that only the Vermilion Bird Divine Emperor would know, the secret that caused the war between the Four Divine Sect and the Brilliant Void Realm, the Azure Dragon Divine Sovereign hadn't asked him about it at all. After Wang Lin had taken everyone far away, the Azure Dragon Divine Sovereign sat in the main hall of the Azure Dragon Divine Sect. He looked very tired, and the 4 holy treasures floated before him. However, his gaze wasn't on the holy treasures, but outside the main hall. After a long time, he let out a sigh and withdrew his gaze. He muttered some words that no one other than him could hear. After sending Big Head and company to the new Rain Celestial Realm, he no longer had any more worries. He calmly floated among the stars and then his eyes shined like the stars. A powerful aura surrounded Wang Lin. He was completely shrouded in battle intent. Tor Sen, it has been more than 1,000 years. You and I will have to battle in the end. Wang Lin's aura was monstrous as he flew through the stars. He used spatial bending as he quickly moved toward the familiar planet Suzaku. On planet Suzaku, there weren't many cultivators left around the planet. A majority of them had gone into the land of the ancient god. After they entered, they were cut off from the outside. No one knew if those cultivators were still safe. The land of the ancient god was a spatial crack, so nothing that happened inside would cause any change outside. The space outside planet Suzaku twisted and Wang Lin stepped out. Looking at planet Suzaku and the cultivators around it, Wang Lin took another step. When he appeared, he was on planet Suzaku's moon. There were naturally cultivators here, but thanks to Wang Lin's cultivation level, no one noticed him. Wang Lin found a mountain and hid himself inside. He then opened up his own space inside and carved a formation on the ground. This was the Qing Lin celestial formation he had learned when he fused with Qing Lin. It could hide all traces of him and prevent anyone from finding him. After forming the formation, he took out some celestial jades and placed them on the formation. His hand pointed to between his eyebrows and a portion of his origin soul flew out. Soul, take form. Wang Lin's hands quickly formed several seals. The origin soul turned into green smoke and circled him a few times. Then it condensed into a human form. Form body. Wang Lin bit the tip of his tongue and spat out blood. A bit of his remaining celestial origin energy infused into this portion of his origin soul. The origin soul immediately shined red and some of the rocks on the ground trembled as if they were being pulled. Soon, the rocks flew into the origin soul. It was as if a vortex had formed in the cave, as countless pieces of rock gathered toward the origin soul, and it gradually solidified. After about 7 minutes, a copy of Wang Lin appeared. Celestial Emperor Qing Lin's body formation celestial spell is very lifelike. Wang Lin closed his eyes. Even with his cultivation level, he couldn't tell if the origin soul before him was real or fake. If it was only lifelike, it wouldn't become Qing Lin's celestial spell. Aside from being impossible to distinguish it from the real body, it also had the ability to use almost the same strength as the true body. Only, with Wang Lin's origin soul, it could only last 10 days. After 10 days, this avatar would collapse. Even if it was killed, it would only lightly injure the original body and not cause too much impact. At the same time, his original body couldn't move in these 10 days and would be in deep sleep. That's why it had to be used with the formation to hide his presence. Wang Lin's right hand reached out and the crack to his storage space opened. The silver female corpse walked out from the crack. She didn't speak and sat down inside the formation next to Wang Lin. The formation was here to hide him and the female corpse was here to guard him. Wang Lin pondered a bit before placing down several powerful restrictions, and then did he finally feel at ease. He closed his eyes as if he was dead and even his breathing gradually stopped. Even his heartbeat disappeared and he was like a dead man. At the same time, the moment Wang Lin's breath and heartbeat stopped, the avatar made of stone slowly opened its eyes. After moving his body a bit, Wang Lin looked at his body inside the formation and the silver female corpse. Then his body flickered and directly left the mountain. He used spatial bending to bypass all the cultivators outside planet Suzaku and reappeared on planet Suzaku. When Wang Lin passed by the cultivators around planet Suzaku, 4 people opened their eyes as if they had noticed something, but they didn't stop Wang Lin. After all, in these past several days, a lot of rogue old monsters had been rushing here. None of the cultivators that entered the land of the ancient god were more familiar with it than Wang Lin. After he entered planet Suzaku, he headed directly toward the Sea of Devils. Along the way, he didn't use teleportation to quickly arrive there, but spent the time adapting to his body. Only after he had fully familiarized himself did he speed up. Along the way, he passed the former fighting evil sect and the dragon formation formed by the Calf Mountain. He vaguely saw a woman carefully studying each scale only to produce a protective jade. He stared at the dragon from 1,000 years ago even though more than half of it was damaged and it only resembled a dragon a little. There was no longer a sect here and it was completely desolate. Wang Lin withdrew his gaze and disappeared. He passed through more than half of the Sea of Devils and arrived at the entrance to the land of the ancient god. It was completely quiet and not a single cultivator was here. It was clear they had all entered the land of the ancient god. Wang Lin headed inside the entrance without hesitation and appeared in the void. The moment he entered, a powerful smell of blood blasted him. There were countless stones floating in the void, and they were all dyed red with blood. There were many bodies floating in the void. There were cultivators and fierce beasts. There was the body of a 1,000 feet blue spider, a 10,000 feet giant python, and many fierce beasts of different sizes. There was even a dragon, but it had no wings, and there was a group of insects that were the size of an arm. There were still fluctuations of origin energy remaining here. It was clear that a great battle had occurred in this place. Most of the corpses here were burnt, some were frozen, and others leaked pus. It was obvious they were poisoned. The further he flew, the more bodies there were, and the number of causes of death increased. There was a giant python that was pierced by countless swords laying on a piece of rock. However, its eyes were still open and contained a fierce gaze. In the end, it was impossible to see a whole corpse, as it was all just broken limbs and body parts. Even Wang Lin, who was used to life and death, felt his pupils contract at this. However, he didn't stop and continued flying toward the entrance to the next level. While he was flying, a cold aura surrounded him. Wang Lin stopped and looked to his right. There was a large rock 10,000 feet to his right. There were many mutilated bodies on that rock, bodies of cultivators and fierce beasts. There was a black light surrounding the edge of the rock. Unless you looked carefully, it would be impossible to see the black light in this dark void. There was a burly man squatting in the black light. Only his upper body was naked and was covered in black hair as if he was a savage. However, if you looked at his head, no cultivator would think it was a person. There were more than 10 branches sticking out of his neck and there was a head at the end of each branch. They were all on the ground chewing. Crunch, crunch. This sound was very low and easy to ignore. However, the moment Wang Lin's gaze fell on this strange thing, the sound suddenly became louder. Wang Lin was eventually able to get a clear look at the source of the sound. The heads were fighting over a beast. It seemed like even the bones were being devoured. When Wang Lin saw the burly man also noticed Wang Lin. The more than 10 heads slowly rose and looked at Wang Lin. Some of the heads had blood coming out of their mouths, while a few were still chewing. At his instant, Wang Lin felt a chill fill his body. This chill pierced his bones and a powerful sense of crisis surrounded him. However, with years of life and death experiences, Wang Lin had a powerful mind and he remained calm. He didn't subconsciously retreat or escape, but just stood there as if he had taken root. His pupils shrank until they became a black points as he stared at the fierce beast that looked like a burly man. Ji Qiong. The memories of ancient God Tu Sai flashed through Wang Lin's mind before fixing on the memory of this fierce beast. After recognizing this beast, cold sweat appeared on Wang Lin's forehead. As his cultivation level, understanding of law, and experience increased, Wang Lin understood that cultivators weren't the strongest. There were some incredibly powerful fierce beasts. There were even some fierce beasts not even an 8-star ancient god would want to provoke. Like the mosquito beast herd or the other memory Wang Lin had just recalled. It was a dark void, not even the stars could light up this area. There was a purple planet far away. A figure hundreds of feet tall slowly flew out. This figure wasn't large, but there were 36 branches with 36 large heads attached to them. If one took a closer look, they would find that each branch was 10,000 feet long. As a result, the body of this strange beast could be ignored. After it flew away from the purple planet, it let out a roar. This was the collected roar of 36 heads, and it was heaven-shaking. Even space itself began to collapse and divide. It was a spectacular scene. The beast wasn't roaring at space, but at a giant ancient god not far away. There weren't many beasts among the stars that dared to roar at an ancient god, and even less that dared to attack an ancient god. The 36-headed Ji Qiong rushed at the ancient god while roaring. The scene ended here. Wang Lin looked at the Ji Qiong looking toward him and gently took a step back. One of the Ji Qiong's heads revealed hesitation. It looked at Wang Lin and then at the remaining corpse as if it was weighing the trade-off. Wang Lin slowly retreated another step and was on guard. From Tu Sai's memories, this beast was extremely powerful. Wang Lin had to admit that with his current cultivation level, he'd find it difficult to kill or capture this beast, so he could only retreat. However, he had to be careful while retreating, and he had to do it slowly. If it was too fast, this fierce beast would immediately chase him. If this beast can become my original body's ancient god beast, it would make my original body's strength increase greatly. Unfortunately, as Wang Lin slowly retreated, the Ji Qiong's 18 heads gradually lowered and continued to chew on the bodies, making loud crunching noises. This sound echoed in this silent void and sounded particularly harsh. However, there was still a head that hadn't lowered to devour the corpse. It coldly stared at Wang Lin. As Wang Lin slowly retreated, the head seemed to wave like a snake and licked its lips. This was the head of a middle-aged man. His hair was a mess and blood was coming out from the corner of his mouth. It stared at Wang Lin while tasting the flesh in its mouth. After Wang Lin retreated 10 steps, the remaining 17 heads had all lowered, but the eyes of the middle-aged man lit up and he spat out a chunk of rotten meat. Wang Lin took a big step back without hesitation and turned into a ray of light as he escaped. The moment he moved, the middle-aged man head let out a sharp cry. This cry had the power to even pierce through rock and metal as it echoed across this void. Some of the floating rocks immediately collapsed. At the same time, the remaining 17 heads suddenly rose up and stared at Wang Lin. Then they turned into a ray of black light and moved at an unimaginable speed, chasing Wang Lin. Wang Lin's expression was gloomy. It was impossible to understand this beast by thinking like a cultivator. He originally didn't want to bother with it, but right now it was getting closer and closer. He couldn't use spatial bending inside the body of the ancient god, but he could teleport. Wang Lin's body flickered and he disappeared. However, as soon as he disappeared, the Ji Qiong chasing him also disappeared. When Wang Lin stepped out from the void, his expression changed and he quickly stepped to the side. There was a bang and a 100 feet long sword energy passed by him. A gust of wind blew in his face and Wang Lin immediately looked back. The Ji Qiong had also teleported while chasing Wang Lin, and the sword energy had come from one of its mouth. The 18 heads' eyes revealed varying degrees of bloodlust and greed. They all stared at Wang Lin as they rushed over. They seemed to want to devour him and get the taste of his living flesh. Wang Lin's expression was extremely gloomy as he teleported without a word. The Ji Qiong let out a roar and quickly chased. The person and beast just constantly teleported within the void. The Ji Qiong was very fast. If he couldn't use teleportation, Wang Lin wouldn't have been able to compare. However, Wang Lin was cautious and often teleported right after appearing, so he was able to maintain the distance between them. The Ji Qiong's roars became even more angry. One of the heads, one that was an old woman, bit the tip of her tongue and spat out fishy-smelling blood. The blood moved and turned into 2 blood-red runes. One flew into the air and one flew into the earth. At this moment, a wave of blood light appeared and sealed the heavens and earth. All teleportation would be like smashing into a metal plate inside this sealed area. Wang Lin was just about to teleport, so his expression became even more gloomy. His hand reached out and opened his storage space. As the Ji Qiong closed in, Wang Lin took out a yellow talisman. He placed it on his chest without hesitation and wind surrounded him, then Wang Lin rushed away. His speed increased greatly as he disappeared in a flash of ghostly light. The Ji Qiong's 18 heads looked startled, but they let out a unified roar immediately after. One of the heads, that of a girl, revealed a ferocious scream, and black wind appeared around the Ji Qiong. This wind created a storm, and it charged out with the Ji Qiong. It rumbled loudly as the Ji Qiong chased Wang Lin once more. At the same time, chants came out from 4 other heads and countless black runes appeared. They shined and then imprinted on the storm. As a result, the storm's speed increased by several times. The distance Wang Lin had gained was instantly closed. At this moment, Wang Lin was already very close to the entrance to the next area. He could vaguely see a giant vortex before him. Wang Lin knew that once he entered the vortex, he could leave the void and get away from the terrifying beast. However, he didn't have the time. Although the storm sounded far away, it was already within 1,000 feet of him. If this continued, the Ji Qiong would catch up before Wang Lin could enter the vortex. At this moment of crisis, there was a flash of coldness in Wang Lin's eyes. His left hand formed a seal and he waved his hand. A sea of flames immediately appeared, forming a barrier. He immediately turned around, and as did so, thunder flashed in his right eye and he pointed. In an instant, thunderous rumbles echoed in the void and endless thunder came out of Wang Lin's hand. The thunder formed a net and fell toward the flames. Just at this instant, the black storm around the Ji Qiong collided with the sea of flames. There was a heaven-shattering rumble and the flames immediately dissipated and scattered. The black storm also paused for a moment due to the sea of flames, but the 18-headed Ji Qiong rushed out of the black wind and flew toward Wang Lin. The various 18 heads all revealed ferocious expressions, especially the middle-aged man, who was filled with excitement to eat living flesh. However, Wang Lin had already guarded against it. The thunder net immediately surrounded the Ji Qiong. The thunder net popped and the Ji Qiong roared endlessly, but it did slow down. Wang Lin's eyes lit up. His fire and thunder spells were powerful, but they weren't enough to injure the Ji Qiong, only hinder it. With how long these spells could block the Ji Qiong, he could still have a chance of entering that vortex and avoiding the Ji Cheong's pursuit. However, Wang Lin was unwilling to leave just like this. "If you dare to chase me, then you must pay the price." Coldness appeared in his eyes as his hands formed a seal. Then his origin energy surged and a coolness appeared in his body. A slaughter aura suddenly erupted from his body and formed a net of slaughter energy. He let out a roar and pointed forward. In an instant, this slaughter energy gathered like crazy until it was only one dark red strand. It charged at Ji Cheong, creating a thunderous rumble on its way. All of this happened in an instant. The moment the dark red slaughter energy shot out, the Ji Cheong trembled and the thunder net around its body collapsed. The moment the thunder net collapsed, the slaughter energy whistled through the air like a meteor and appeared in the 18 pairs of eyes of the 18 heads. This video will end here.